What I want you to do is I want you to turn to your neighbor and say to them, Merry Chaotic Christmas to you. Go ahead. Welcome. Welcome to the day of high expectations and forgetting that the batteries were not included. What I want you to do, I want you to close your eyes for a minute. So close your eyes, and I want you to picture Christmas. I want you to picture Christmas. I want you to picture Christmas Eve. I want you to picture the season that leads up to it. And what do you see? When I do that, I think of all the things that we do. We tend to take the chaos out of Christmas. And the images that we see are like in the cards that we get, right? You get the cards, and the cards have these beautiful pictures of the manger, and there's a setting sun and a rising star, and Mary standing there, and Joseph standing there, and it just looks all so peaceful and wonderful. You get cards with words on it like that, right? We just used a bunch of the words where it's, love and joy and hope and peace and all those words. And sometimes what it does is we get to this place where we're looking as like, is that really what it's supposed to be? Is it supposed to be all that? Is it supposed to be the manger with Eeyore in the corner, right? The cute little donkey that just looks adorable. Or is Christmas maybe something a little bit different? What about those? I got some of those cards. You ever get those cards where people go with their families, they got young kids or pets, and they go and they get Christmas pictures taken? And they look like it's just such a wonderful, angelic, beautiful moment, doesn't it? It's like you get those pictures and it's like, oh my gosh, the most well-behaved children in the world. The adults aren't too badly behaved either. And look at those dogs, they're all looking the right direction. But I know I have kids. They're 26 and 30 and I can't get them to sit still, right? Much less to have a 7-year-old or a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old or a little baby, and you're trying to get that perfect picture for everybody to be able to get as you send it out to them saying Merry Christmas. Merry, peaceful, joyful, hopeful, loving Christmas to you. And what we do is we set up these high expectations. We want to have perfect decorations, right? So we get the Christmas trees out. And how many of you set up before Thanksgiving? Anybody? Before Thanksgiving? Y'all crazy, all right? Most of us set up after Thanksgiving. You try and get the perfect things. You try and prepare the meals that are like top chef quality, right? You want the top chef quality meals. You want to have those matching family pajamas. My stepmother did that for us when I was a kid. She sewed all the pajamas and we all dressed up in the same outfit. They fit horribly. And instead, what do we get? You go to open the Christmas lights and they're a tangled mess. Half of them don't work. You got the chaos of the kids at the photo things. You burn the doggone cookies. And you're just getting stressed out. Cats eat tinsel. Anybody know that? Just so you know, I had a cat who ate tinsel. It does not end well. It doesn't end well. It doesn't go out the same way that it came in. You look at, here's what I wanted tonight. I've worked for, Scott Magnus has worked with me, who's our facilities person. I wanted to have bathrooms that worked for you tonight. I wanted to have a Christmas tree down in the lobby where we could go down and hear music down there, and you could hang around a little bit longer together and enjoy some family time and maybe some friend time. That's what I wanted. But instead, we got a lobby that's closed, bathrooms that are already overflowing. I literally got a message on my phone saying the women's room's already out of order. Welcome to Christmas. But here's the thing, guys. Christmas, I went back, I read the story. Don't know if you've read it. You heard a little bit of here, but I went back and I looked. It was not a Hallmark story. It wasn't chaos-free. You think of Zechariah and Elizabeth. That was the first sermon that we did as we were coming into Advent. The first sermon was talking about Zechariah and Elizabeth and how he gets this angel that appears to him as he's in the temple, and he finds out he's going to have a child. And the surprise of the story, if you don't know that one, is that she's not been able to have a child. She's not young anymore. Elizabeth's been waiting, praying. They've been praying, wanting with every fiber of their being to have a child. And it's not here, God. Why is it not coming? Why? And you're like, Merry chaotic Christmas. You keep going down through the story. Mary has to go and explain to Joseph and say, I'm pregnant. And you have to just imagine all the stuff that's going through his head in that moment. The dejection, the I'm going to try and dismiss her quietly, but that means that he thought something had happened. Merry chaotic Christmas. Mary has to ride a donkey. She has to ride a donkey, right? She's going to go all the way from her home into Bethlehem, and she's on a donkey, right? I was talking to Linda, and I'm like, I can't, my wife, and I'm like, I can barely get her in the car on a cold day if I don't have a seat warmer, right? She had to ride in a donkey. She's 9 months pregnant, and she's riding a donkey. There's no room at the inn. Right? They get there and they arrive. You know what Joseph, being a husband, forgot to do? He forgot to go on Expedia and make a reservation. You just keep going through this, and it's like, think story after story after story, and then Jesus is born in a maternity ward where most of the patients in the dang place have 4 legs, and they're furry. This is the Christmas story, and it wraps up sort of with King Herod wanting to kill Jesus. And yet we come into Christmas and we think it's like it needs to be all perfect. It needs to be wonderful. It needs to be beautiful. But the first Christmas wasn't. It was the antithesis of everything that we get portrayed towards us today. It was chaos. There was fear. There was a feeling of, I might have been betrayed. There's a lot of things in there that should give us a wonderful gift of saying, maybe all this stuff, this first Christmas not being tidy or neat, or probably not even merry. Maybe it was chaotic and uncomfortable and challenging and stunk, right? They're in a stable, in essence, right? It smelled. Maybe there's a gift in that. And that's the gift I hope to give you tonight, is to be able to hear that the first Christmas wasn't tidy. It wasn't neat. It wasn't necessarily beautiful. It was hard. And as we come into Christmas, maybe we need to remember why Christmas happened. Why did it even happen? Why? Why Christmas? Why do we gather tonight? What's the point? What's the point in this person, Jesus, coming into the world? And the great gift is baby Jesus, right? Grows up to become adult Jesus, and he tells us why. And I want you to read it with me. It's going to be up on the screen because this is the reason why. This is Jesus' reason, all right? And we get to read it together. Here's what it says. Put it up on the screen, guys. Read it together, right? I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. Do you hear that? I've come that us, that we might have life. And not just have life, but what's it say? What's the word? That we might have it in the full. The first Christmas wasn't perfect, but was full of what? Love, joy, peace, hope. No, not just those things. Chaos, struggle, challenge, fear, stress, anxiety. All of those things were present in the story. Why do we expect it to be different for us now? Maybe we need to understand that the abundant life that he's talking about, the full life that he's talking about, means life in its fullness. That it's not just the love, the joy, the hope, the peace, that there's something else that's going on. And so I thought, but what if I do this? What if I just give you examples of some of my past Christmases? All right, some of the moments where it didn't go quite as you thought it should go. You had great plans, but it didn't go the way that you thought it would go. So I got a few stories. Number one, I remember surprising my dad and stepmother. They lived up in Alabama. And Lynn and I, we got in the truck. It was cold. And I'm like, we're going to surprise them. We're going to show up early in the morning. They knew that we were coming. They didn't know we were going to be there at sunrise. All right? So we left as soon as church ended, and we got in the truck, and we boom, go down the road, up the road because we're going north, right? So we're going north up towards Alabama, and it's freezing, and we got the kids, and Nathan's a young one, and there's one trip that we did where it was freezing cold as we were driving. The further north we got, the colder it got. And strangely, for some reason, the heater stopped working in the truck. And as we're going, we started taking blankets and we're just throwing them on top of the kids, throwing them on top of the kids, throwing them on top of the kids. Another trip, same thing. We're going up to see the parents. Nathan's in his car seat. We're driving along, trying to get up there. And all of a sudden we heard this horrible sound. Horrible sound. Everybody say horrible sound. That's what it sounded like, right? It was a horrible sound. All right? He had gotten sick. And he got sick so much that we couldn't leave him in the car seat. We could not get the car seat clean. The whole drive up, you've got that going on, the wonderful smells, all those things going on. Merry, chaotic Christmas. That's not the only story. We have annual Christmas gatherings, right? We'd have annual Christmas gatherings up at my mom's house, a mobile home, double-wide mobile home, up in Chastahowitzka, Florida, which is also fun to say, so say that too. Chastahowitzka. Oh, say it again. Chastahowitzka. All right, Chastahowitzka. We drive up to Chastahowitzka, and my family's there, all my sisters, the kids, everybody, and the fried chicken. My mom would always make fried chicken. And she did that ahead of time, and she did that for me. She made lasagna. It was for me. It wasn't for my sisters. It was for me, right? Fried chicken. And it was just so awesome to be up there. And we would draw names at the end. There was always a little bit of stress over who's going to get what name. And then you had to trade names because everybody wanted to buy a gift for me. Nobody wanted to buy a gift for anybody else, right? There's just a wonderful time to be able to be up there. You couldn't even park near my mom's house. There were so many of us that were there. I remember our kids. Brandon, Stephen. See, I'm thinking of you, Stephen. Thinking of you, buddy, because we got the same shirt on. All right? So Brandon, Nathan, and it's just such a cool thing of them growing up here. And they would sing in the choirs. And the thing that went with that was the stress of it. All right? Not the stress of the kids being up there, though you did want them to behave. Any parents out there, right? You're like, I want my child to behave up there. You need to be the one that's in control. Do you understand me, child? All right? So you try to get that. You try to get that. And I would watch them up here singing, but it had taken a month of practices of trying to get them together, to try and coordinate them. And then you get the people, the adults that would sit with the kids as they would be up here singing to try and keep them under control. As this choir went, this choir was waiting and trying to keep it in order, and it was chaos. And it was beautiful. Just beautiful. I get a great gift now. I've been talking to the congregation a lot about this because I've got this beautiful gift of my office is located close to a preschool classroom right now. We've had to put them in there because we're trying to get another room built. And the kids, they were in the chapel and they were singing. And I'm like, I gotta set my stuff aside. I set my stuff aside and I go walking outside and I come walking into the back part of the chapel and they're all sitting up in the front row and they're singing and they're getting ready for their Christmas concert. So our Anona Child Development Center has a Christmas concert for their parents every single year, and the parents come in. And I'm watching, and I'm imagining like all the struggle they've had trying to get these kids to be all on the same moment, saying the same thing, singing the same, just getting to the room is a challenge, right? The chaos of that, of trying to get them there, and the stress, and the teachers are always so calm and patient and kind. All the good side of Christmas is the kids are sometimes like, all over the place. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to share the gift that I got that day. So take a look.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jesus. Happy birthday to you. Merry
Isn't that awesome? Isn't that awesome? You know what I want with every fiber of my being? I want back my kids at that age. I want back the chaos of raising my kids as 2 and 3 and 4-year-olds. And I wish with every fiber of my being that I could just be able to hold them the way that I used to hold them back then. I want back the trips. I want back the trips to be able to see my dad. To see Gloria, to have my kid throw up in the back seat. I want that. I want it all. I want it back. I want my mom's fried chicken. Embrace the chaos. Don't run from it. Chaos is the story. It's your story. It's my story. It is the Christ story. The gift that we get in this moment, this whole birth story, is to realize that maybe somehow, some way we might just find in the midst of the chaos and the struggle of a baby crying in the middle of worship, that we celebrate that there's a baby crying in the middle of worship and realize that's the gift. God is with us in the love and the hope and the peace and the joy. God is with us in the struggle, the hurt, the pain, the anguish, the anxiety, the betrayal. God is with us. That's why he is called what? Say it loud. Emmanuel. Why? Emmanuel. What's that? Let me look it up. Let me see. God, oh yeah. God with us through it all. So, merry, chaotic Christmas. Merry, chaotic Christmas. We light this candle. We light this candle over here. We light it with the idea that the light is coming into the world. The light of Christ is coming into the world with the idea that God is now with us. That's the whole symbol of this moment. When you get that candle in your hand and it lights, that's the whole point. God is with us, which means God is with you. And when you go home, God's with you. And when life is great and you're opening the presents, God is with you. And when you do forget that the batteries weren't included and you don't have the batteries, God is still with you. God's with you. I'm going to invite my wife forward to light the last candle. Actually, do you have the little candles? We'll use those. Take a moment before you light. Before the light comes down to you, take a moment and think of the chaos that you've gone through, the struggle that you've had leading up to Christmas. Maybe even get a picture of the past year, of the places where you've struggled, the places where you've celebrated, so that when you light the candle, you light it with your story. Not just the Christmas story. I want you to light it with your story. My friends, this church is celebrating its 152nd Christmas. I want you to know that it's not just celebrating its 152nd Christmas, it's celebrating 152 years of chaotic, struggling, loving, celebrating, pain-filled, Jesus-filled, birth in a manger, dirty, grubby Christmases and stories throughout the year. And you are invited to that story, not just on Christmas, you're invited to that story every day of the year. Be Christ. Accept the challenge of life, the abundance of life, and know that God is with you. God bless you, and go in peace. Amen. Merry Christmas.